speaking of the all genres chart that Billboard puts out, Sabrina Carpenter is aiming for a #1 debut on Billboard. And let me bring this up on the screen for you guys. All right, so Billboard put out this article. Excuse me. There we go. The title says, will Sabrina Carpenter's Manchild take Alex Warren's Ordinary out of the #1 spot? Spoiler alert, it is Friday, June 13th. I'm going to tell you right now, Sabrina Carpenter Manchild will be the #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 when it's announced on Monday. And I'll tell you why. It's already #1 on the UK chart, which very rarely is different than the US chart. If you ever want to peek ahead, check out the UK chart. It comes out on Fridays. So she's #1 in the UK. She already dethroned Alex Warren's Ordinary over there. And I'm telling you right now, she's going to do the same thing on Monday. You can wait till Monday, and maybe you're watching this video on my YouTube on Monday. Hello, how are you? But we're talking about this on Friday night. She's going to have the #1 song in the country. But let's see what Billboard's saying, okay? Will Sabrina Carpenter's Manchild take Alex Warren's Ordinary out of the #1 spot? Okay. When Ordinary was revealed as the #1 single on the Billboard Hot 100 a couple years ago, rocketing past all three Morgan Wallen songs that had moved above it the week before, it looked like it might have a relatively clear path to rule the chart for a long time. Then last Tuesday, an announcement came that made it clear its competition would soon be stiffer than expected. Sabrina Carpenter, one of the decade's biggest breakout pop stars, would be returning with a brand new single. Manchild, written and produced by Carpenter along with the Dream Team. This is all great. Let's get to some brass tacks here. Okay. So Andrew Unterberger, one of the best writers of all time. I mean that. I've always loved reading Andrew's stuff, even back when I worked at Billboard. Wrote this article, and he says, okay, the song, packed with the hooks and humor that elevated Carpenter to superstar status during her short and sweet era, also came with an at times literally explosive new video, seemingly custom designed for screen grab memes. That's the name of the game. It got off to a similarly incendiary start on streaming, bowing atop the Spotify daily top songs with about twice the streams of the #2 song. Those streaming numbers fell significantly over the weekend, but have rebounded slightly over the week, and now look to portend a very strong showing for Manchild on DSPs. Whether it will be enough to help the song capture the Hot 100's top spot is another matter, particularly as it gets started on radio, where it's off to a solid start, even threatening a radio song's chart debut in its first week. It's going to be on the radio songs chart. There is not a pop station in the world. And by the way, you know who runs pop is iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio has the most pop real estate out of anybody, and they love Sabrina Carpenter. The programmers at iHeartRadio love Sabrina Carpenter, as they should, because I bet she tests out the wazoo. If you know what test means, it's more about streaming data than anything else. And you won't even believe how sophisticated their technology is over there at iHeartRadio. Ooh. It's like, for nerds like me that love data and love numbers and also love music, it is so cool to look at what they have. They love her because she makes amazing music, and you never get sick of hearing a Sabrina Carpenter song. And that's the name of the game in the radio business. So anyways, it's going to get off to a strong start. Obviously lags behind Carpenter's enduring 2024 hits Espresso and Taste, which still have a considerable presence on the airwaves. See, this is the funny thing. We talked last week about T-Pain in the 2000s. There was a real issue where T-Pain, you can't play the same artist all the time. So you have to separate these songs. And so the weird conundrum that Sabrina Carpenter's label is going to be in with the radio stations is like, and they'll work it out, obviously. I'm not saying there's an issue, but it's like, how do you stop playing the Espresso and the Taste songs and make room for Manchild? There's so many Sabrina Carpenter hits. And that's, again, it goes back to, this is her swing to become a superstar. She's going to suffocate the game. And that's what all the great people do. When you think back to 2004 or 2005, you're like 50 Cent, right? Or you think back to like 2008, 2009, you're like T-Pain, right? 2010, 2011, Lady Gaga. We can go down the list of people who really grabbed that brass ring, if you will. It will help Manchild that the song is selling fairly well, having spent most of the past 4 days in the top 5 of iTunes' real-time chart. That's going to be huge. That is weighted quite a bit in this algorithm. It even returned to #1 following the Tuesday discounting of the song to 69 cents, which, along with a vinyl single, there's a physical copy. This is the perfect equation for a #1 debut. And to bring you behind the scenes, that's obviously what the plan was, as it should be. A vinyl single is now available on our web store, including the exclusive B-side, Inside of Your Head, when you've just won an argument with a man, which would seem to indicate that Carpenter's team likely feels like #1 is within reach. It should be a close race regardless, and many come down to the final days, if not the final hours. Billboard's always been funny about this. I would try to get Gary Trust, the head of the Hot 100, and one of my favorite people of all time, to be like, I'd be like, dude, what's going to be #1? At that time, when I was at Billboard, it'd be like, Cardi B is going to go number one, right? This is the week, right, Gary? And there weren't any cameras around, or any microphones around, and Gary Truss wouldn't tell me. He'd be like, I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. So there is a culture at Billboard where they don't want to spoil the chart. When Andrew Unterberger wrote this article, he obviously wrote it earlier in the week. I'm talking to you on Friday night. I'm telling you, this is going to go number one. This is a number one debut. They're kind of doing the same thing. Now, the number one song right now is Alex Warren's Ordinary. After capturing the top spot on the Hot 100 2 weeks ago, Ordinary shows no signs of slowing down. Its radio airplay continues to rise, up 8% in all format airplay, June 6th through the 9th, according to Luminate. And streaming and sales both remain highly stable. Despite its follow-up, the Jelly Roll Bloodline collab debuting last week, it doesn't seem like Alex Warren's new song has sapped any of the Ordinary momentum, as the latter remains the early song of the summer front runner. I don't think it's going to be the song of the summer. Even if Manchild does manage to topple it on to next week's chart, Ordinary has the consistent cross-platform success to challenge for the top spot for many weeks still to come, and could take back over from Carpenter's latest almost immediately once the first week streaming and sales numbers from the latter inevitably recede in week 2. Well, yeah, but who cares? No one cares about that. It's not about multi-week number ones anymore. You just want the number one. And then you can always say I had the number one. This is what they want Sabrina on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine with the number one song. And you know what else? She's in a Versace ad this week. I'm pretty sure she has a physical vinyl. Digital song sales are very strong. You know iHeartRadio and SiriusXM. SiriusXM is actually less powerful than iHeartRadio in terms of the charts. I would argue more people probably listen to SiriusXM, but I could be wrong because of iHeart's scale is probably ridiculous. It might trump SiriusXM's reach. But I've been told that SiriusXM only counts as like one station. When I was nationally syndicated and I played a song, you got like 17 spins. I was on 17 cities. So on my show, if we had played your song a couple times, you're rocking and rolling up the chart. Sirius is national, but I've been told it only counts as one station. But it's going to do well, trust me. No matter what radio station company owns the station, this is going to get played. The streaming numbers are strong too. We're talking about double over the last weekend in the tracking week of the number 2 song on streaming in the US on Spotify. Sabrina Carpenter's going number 1. And then this Morgan Wallen song that I still have never heard of. Both of Morgan's top performing songs in the Hot 100 are also continuing to make their presence increasingly felt on the radio. Country radio single Just in Case climbs 38-37. Is pop radio playing what I want? I told you we had tons of Sabrina Carpenter news, man. A lot going on with Sabrina Carpenter. We just almost did, I think, an hour on all things Sabrina Carpenter.